You ever wonder if a collection of ancient spiritual writings, some of them panned thousands of years apart, could actually hold a single, cohesive blueprint for how to live a meaningful life? It's a huge question, right? Well, today, we're going to see if we can piece one together from 19 different scriptural texts.
So, is it possible? Could there really be a clear, unified guide hidden inside all these diverse texts? A path that connects our focus, our inner thoughts, and our outward actions? That's the big question we're digging into today, and we're using these scriptures as our map.
Okay, so where do you even begin a journey like this? Well, the first step, according to all these texts, is this really fundamental shift in your perspective. It's a conscious decision to redirect your focus from all the earthly stuff to the divine. Matthew 6 really lays it out there. It presents this really stark choice. On one side, you've got what it calls treasures on earth, all the things that rust, decay, and can be stolen. But on the other side, treasures in heaven, things like righteousness and seeking God's kingdom. The message is just crystal clear. You have to choose whether you're going to focus on what's temporary or what's eternal. And this isn't just a one-off idea, Colossians 3 says almost the exact same thing, telling us to set your hearts on things above, not on earthly things. When you see that kind of repetition, it really underlines just how important this divine focus is as the absolute first step.
So once your focus is shifted, the journey kind of turns inward. The second major theme we find across the board is this call for a deep, internal transformation, what the texts call the renewing of your mind.
And Romans 12 actually gives us a clear three-step process for how this works. Step 1, offer your body as a living sacrifice. Now, that's a metaphor for just dedicating your whole life to a higher purpose. Step 2, resist conforming to the world's patterns. And finally, step 3, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. It's not something that just happens to you. It's an active, deliberate process. And we're not talking about a small adjustment here. The scale of this change is described in really dramatic terms. Ephesians 2 uses this powerful language of being dead in your transgressions and then being made alive with Christ. It's a complete shift from one state of being to a totally different one.
But, and this is a big but, this transformation isn't automatic. The parable of the sower in Mark 4 illustrates this perfectly. The seed, which represents the divine message, it falls on all these different kinds of soil. The final outcome, whether it grows or not, depends entirely on how receptive the heart is. Is it like the hard path, the rocky ground, the thorny patch, or is it that good soil ready to actually nurture some growth? So, a new focus and a renewed mind. That's the foundation. But this blueprint doesn't just stop there. It has to move from the internal to the external. It shows us that true faith is ultimately proven through real, tangible action.
First, we got to be clear on what faith actually means in this context. It's not just mentally agreeing with something, it's described as a deep conviction that will inevitably, unavoidably result in you doing something. And the book of James, it doesn't pull any punches. It says it about as directly as you possibly can. As the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without deeds is dead. That right there is the linchpin of this entire section. Action isn't some optional extra. It's the very evidence that faith is alive. So what do these deeds actually look like? Well, we can pull examples from all over these different texts, and they paint a picture of a really holistic way of living. It's everything from the compassion and kindness in Colossians to the self-control in Titus, the practical wisdom of Proverbs, and even the social justice of James. We see a faith that's meant to be lived out in every single part of life.
Now look, we all know a path of focus, transformation, and action. It isn't always going to be easy. And that's exactly why the final piece of this blueprint deals with those inevitable challenges. It offers an enduring promise of comfort and hope. So in 2 Corinthians, we hear about a God of all comfort. But what's the purpose of that comfort? Well, the text says he comforts us in all our troubles so that we can comfort those in any trouble. It's a comfort that's meant to be passed on, creating this amazing cycle of support.
This idea of finding meaning in the middle of hardship, it's also at the very heart of the suffering servant passage in Isaiah 53. Here, suffering is totally reframed. The text says that by his wounds we are healed. It presents sacrifice not as just a tragedy, but as a path to peace and healing for other people. And all of this leads to the ultimate promise, which we find in Psalm 46, a sense of unwavering stability. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. That's a promise of a security that has nothing to do with our circumstances. It's a reason not to be afraid, even if the earth give way. And that very same psalm,
gives us this simple, profound command: be still and know that I am God. Right in the middle of all the chaos, the final instruction is just one of quiet trust and recognition.
So what have we seen when we put it all together? A path that starts with a shift in focus, that leads to inner renewal, that's proven by our actions, and is sustained by an enduring hope. These ancient texts, together, lay out a really comprehensive blueprint for a life of faith, a path for every season of life. So the only question left is, what does this blueprint mean for yours?